morning. I think we're going to get started now. On behalf of the Alexandria Cologne Sister Cities Committee, I'd like to welcome you here tonight. We're very fortunate this evening to have one of our very own members, Lieutenant Colonel Tom Christensen, here to speak as we commemorate the 70th anniversary of D-Day. This is the second of 3 events that we have planned this week, and we hope you'll join us on Saturday in Market Square, right in front of City Hall, from 2:30 to 6 for our 70th anniversary commemoration. This ceremony will begin promptly at 2:30. At this time, I would like to thank our the sponsor of our D-Day events, USAA.
USAA. Do we have someone here from USAA tonight?
Okay, we were expecting to have someone from USAA here tonight. Anyways, I would like to tell you that USAA has made it possible for us to host this event, and so we're very grateful to them for their support. Okay, and now I'd like to introduce tonight's speaker. Lieutenant Colonel Tom Christensen grew up in rural Wisconsin and attended the University of Wisconsin, receiving a bachelor's and master's in European history. He entered the U.S. Army in 1973 and served in a variety of command and staff positions over 24 years of service, with more than half of them overseas. In his Army career, Tom taught European history at the United States Military Academy, West Point, military history at the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College, Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Tom was also the professor of military science and history at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. While living in Canada, Tom was the military analyst for CTV, a national network. He and his wife also did military history tours and food and wine tours to Europe for more than a decade. Upon return to the States, Tom served as the command historian at the 63rd Regional Support Command, Moffett Field, California, and then as the command historian at the U.S. Army Military Police School at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. He currently serves as the senior historian in the Office of the Secretary of Defense History. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Lieutenant Colonel Christensen.
Well, thanks a lot. It's a great pleasure me being here in Alexandria, obviously as a citizen of Alexandria also. Before I get started on the talk tonight, I'd just like to thank some people here that really put this together and have as much to do with the success, I should say, or failure, okay, of this event as I do. And that is my own staff where I work. I'm very, very fortunate in that I have a ton of PhDs working for me. And so Joel Christensen and Ryan Carpenter, Sarah Barksdale, and most of all, and I'd like him to stand up, Tony Crane. Tony did the music, he did everything else, and I really appreciate everything that he did. It's great to be surrounded by quality people like that. It's easy to look good, let me tell you, with a staff like that. Most of all, I'd like to also thank my wife, Darlene, even though she told me not to thank her. And I say that because she could probably also do this briefing. She's been to Normandy many, many times. 100 times is an exaggeration, but it's a lot of times, a real lot of times that we've been to Normandy. And we have many friends right from Pegasus Bridge to the House of the Canadians on Juno Beach, places at Omaha Beach also that we've made throughout the year. So this talk that I'm going to do tonight is full of thanks to those people, and also dedicated and especially to the veterans of World War II. And as we all know, they're all in their upper 80s and 90s right now. And of course, with the 70th anniversary, for many, this will be the last big event when it comes to the Normandy celebrations that are going on right now. Our committee chairperson, Jenny, is over there right now in Caen. And as Alexandria and Caen are sister cities, Caen, of course, I don't need to remind most of you that it was the first major objective of the Allies in the landings. They get to the outskirts of Caen on the first day. They don't get through Caen until into the second week of July. Okay, so that's how much of the fighting is right in Caen, and I've got a picture that the whole city was basically destroyed. I also want to recognize another person, and I'd like her to stand, and that's Violet. Violet, would you stand? She is from the Caen area, and Violet, from the time she's been a little girl, I've known her. She sings most of the time at Juno Beach, she sings the Canadian national anthem in both French and English. And she's here in Caen now for some time, and will do a wonderful job on Saturday, also doing some singing at our event there. So those are the people that I'd like to recognize. Tonight's talk should not be too strange to anybody. It's called The Longest Day. Okay, most of you elderly people like myself might have remembered that film back in the 60s, The Longest Day. That term, The Longest Day, though, came from a German. Okay, it came from Erwin Rommel. He was talking about and telling and briefing von Rundstedt and Hitler prior to the invasion, that when the invasion occurred, it would be Die längste Tag, and that means the longest day, okay? And that's where the book by Cornelius Ryan got its title. That's how it's often referred to as The Longest Day, June 6, 1944. Obviously, June 21st is the longest day, but at any rate, he said that, and that's one of the major things that we need to talk about in preface to the pitch about Normandy itself, and that is there was a tremendous disagreement among the Germans about not only where they would land, but how to fight them, and I'll get to that in a second. Tony, you want to... Here's the map of the beaches, and it's not too clear, but the right, on the right is the left flank, believe it or not, because remember, you're the assaulting force coming in. The left flank is going to be an Allied airborne jump, and when I say Allied, it's British-Canadian airborne jump. It'll occur at Pegasus Bridge. Some of you might have remembered that. John Howard and company land there. The farthest right flank is where the 101st and 82nd Airborne land around the village, or supposed to land around the village of Saint-Mary-Glise. Some do land at Saint-Mary-Glise. Most are scattered all over. And I have to say that about the entire airborne drop, and we'll talk about that again a bit later in the presentation. The other, from the left to right though, you have the different beaches. The Canadian-British beaches are on the left flank. They are Sword, Juno, and Gold Beach. And then you have a big gap. Most people don't realize that when they look at a map like this, or maps that they read about D-Day, they think that it was a contiguous line of beaches. It wasn't. There was 60 miles, almost 100 kilometers, separating the British-Canadian beaches and Omaha Beach. And then there was another 20 miles that separated Omaha Beach and Utah Beach. And one of the reasons the Allies are doing this, by the way, is to draw out the Germans so that the Germans could not concentrate their forces on one single area. But again, most of us, myself included, when I was studying D-Day and things when I was back in high school, it looks like a contiguous long line of beaches, and soldiers were lined up all along and just assaulting. That's not how it was at all, okay? The British-Canadian beaches were in one area, they were contiguous. Then there was a long gap, and that gap was dictated by terrain. very, very high and steep cliffs. Places like Mont Sommer, where you remember the German is looking out in the movie and the fog lifts, and he says those famous words in German, Heiliger Scheiß. Does anybody know what Heiliger Scheiß means? Holy shit, okay? Because he sees not hundreds but thousands of ships out there in front. Thousands of ships. And they're getting ready to assault. And right after he says that, of course, the bombardment starts. But let me drop back. The reason this area was chosen was controversial also. Obviously, it was a wide gap. There was a wide gap in the channel at this area. Whereas by Calais, it's very narrow. Where the channel is very, very narrow. Everyone thought, particularly the Germans, that any assault had to come across the most narrow portion, because otherwise it would be detected. The Germans had set up radars along the coast also that would detect ships out there if an assault force. Well, the Allies came up with a thing called window. Window was nothing else than strips of aluminum cut, like, and they called it chaff, okay? And planes would